Good morning. It is Wednesday, April the 17th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today. And I'm speaking to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. And I'm the only true conservative because I'm the only one that makes the presumption for the status quo. But actually, I'm going to correct that statement here in a minute. My question that I was thinking about this morning is Donald Trump, is President Trump a conservative? There are a lot of people that said that he is not, that during his campaign and over the course of his presidency, a lot of conservatives and liberals that claim that Donald Trump is not a conservative, but that what he is instead is a populist. And the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump is not a conservative if your definition of a conservative is that it's a person that stands has particular viewpoints on particular issues. That's the common way that conservatism and liberalism is defined today. If you're pro-abortion, you're liberal. If you're anti-abortion, you're conservative. That kind of thing. But if you look at it from the standpoint of true conservatism, then you realize that he is a true conservative. He is a conservative. Because true conservatism is about maintaining or presuming the status quo and making changes only when changes are necessary. One of the nice things about being a true conservative is that you're not dogmatic. You're not locked in to particular political positions, and you're not usually in a position where you're going to find yourself in awkward situations. Bernie Sanders yesterday had a town hall. And so one of the things that was brought up about was how rich he is and how he is advocating a 50% or more tax for the very rich. And it was noted that he's a multimillionaire. He admitted that he made $500,000 last year, most of it from selling a book. And then he went on and they basically asked him, why don't you voluntarily give 50% of your income to the government? And of course, he didn't have an answer for that. He had an attitude instead. He says, "Why don't you?" to the questioner. So he comes back with an attitude, of course. But the problem is that again, he's being dogmatic. Also, what he is idealistic. What he's looking for and what he's trying to create is an ideal society. That's what the left is trying to do. That's what socialism is about, is creating the ideal society, socialist paradise. And for true conservatives, it's about realism, being realistic. You change only when there's an obvious case for change. And if you look at the way that President Trump has been, his presidency, the decisions that he's made during the course of his presidency, then you'll see that that's basically what he's doing. It looks as though he's populist, that because he's not going down the typical conservative party line. He's not dogmatic about, for instance, let's look at trade. One of the dogmatic aspects of being a issues-based conservative, or what I call reactionary, is being free trade. The true conservative position on this is that there is no such thing as free trade. There's never been any such thing as free trade. There'll never be anything as such thing as free trade as long as we have different governments. We have different countries and different governments, or multiplicity or multiples of governments, more than one, let's put it that way. That the only way to achieve free trade is to have one world government. Nothing about that is conservative. That's socialist. The socialists want one world government. That's how they plan on instituting or creating socialist paradise, is through one world government. But Donald Trump knows this. So he goes out and he looks and he says, which trade agreements are in balance to the detriment of the United States of America? and he goes out and fixes those trade agreements to create a better balance, to create a better deal. He's not interested in creating a perfect society. He's not interested in creating a perfect world. He is simply trying to make improvements where improvements are indicated or necessary. So, to sum up, yes, Donald Trump is a conservative, a true conservative. So, I'm not the only true conservative in the United States of America today. I am one of two true conservatives in the United States of America today. I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, and also I was listening. It was yesterday. This kind of whole idea or notion that I'm about to discuss came up, and anyways, Glenn Beck is talking about an individual, a news article in which an individual is suing his parents for destroying his porn collection. And basically, he went through, him and his cohort were scoffing at this guy and snickering and laughing and yucking it up. And it wasn't until the very end of his comment about this particular news article, and it went on, his comments went on for 5-10 minutes. And so it wasn't until at the end of it in which he mentioned the W word, wrong, that this guy was wrong to do it. So and what it reminded me of is a lot of times conservatives will speak about something and they will rely more or less on tone of voice to try to communicate the moral or ethical implications of the situation that they're discussing. And why they're doing that is because it used to be in this country that certain things go without saying. Okay, so in other words, there was the guy with the porn collection, for instance. He was living at home. He was 40 years old. He's living with his parents, and he had apparently, he says, $30,000 worth of pornography that his parents destroyed, and apparently rather objectionable rape and incest and all kinds of things such as that. And they went ahead and destroyed it, and so he was upset about it. But anyways, he's 40 years old, he's living at home, and his parents go ahead and destroy his porn collection. They do it, they say, just as much, just as much to save him and try to make him into a better human being than as much as their own personal disgust with the situation. And it used to be that you could read that article and you just laugh or snicker, whatever, because it goes without saying that he was wrong. He's in his parents' house, and he should have, again, and we're talking about his mother and father. So, I mean, just common sense would dictate here, and that's another thing that's gone out the window is common sense, but that it would go without saying that it's wrong. It shouldn't even be something you'd have to comment on. And decades ago, you wouldn't have bothered with it. You'd have looked at this article, snickered, and moved on. And it wouldn't have to be something that Glenn Beck or somebody would have to make comments about. But today, the way things are is where you have the left has a full-scale assault on morals and ethics, on right and wrong. They're trying to cast doubt on universal rights and wrongs, and so you cannot assume, you cannot take things for granted. You have to come out and explicitly say, okay, this guy did X, and now he is suing his parents, so he's doubly wrong. Number one, he was wrong for having his bringing his porn collection home with him, okay, because apparently he was living on his own, and I guess because of the divorce, because they mentioned that he had gotten a divorce, he was living at home with his parents and brought his porn collection home with him. And so he's wrong for doing that, but then he's also wrong for why are you suing your parents? You know, that just is ridiculous on its face. You know, and there's a lot of that goes on where children are suing to be emancipated. They're suing because they get too much of this or not enough of that. And again, growing up, it was one of those things where it went without saying, you just didn't sue your parents. It just wasn't done. But today, you have to say so. You have to say, this is wrong. And not only do you have to say that it's wrong, Ayn Rand was correct when she said that you have to go and explain why things are wrong. Why the reason it's wrong to go and bring porn into your mother and father's or your parents' house, obviously besides the bad taste situation, is it's a property issue. And unless you've cleared it with them, unless you've gone to your parents and said, by the way, I've got this big porn collection, is it okay if I bring it with me? Then you should make other arrangements. Put it in a storage unit or whatever. Because it's their house, their property, and they get to the say as to what goes on in their house. That's another reason why they're right to destroy it. You brought it into their house, you did so without their permission, their knowledge or permission, and then once they come across it, it's their right to go ahead and destroy it. As if you had brought something in, other things that might pollute the household or foul the environment of the household. It's their property. They get to say what goes on in that property. So, but again, you can't just take things for granted that people are going to understand when you're talking about something by tone of voice that you mean that something is right or something is wrong or somebody is right or wrong, their activities or their behavior. You have to say so explicitly, and you need to say why. A lot of the reasons why we have the socialistic tendencies in this country that we do is because too many conservatives didn't bother to explain, particularly to children, why things are wrong. I used to get from my grandmother, the way she used to do it is she'd tell me to do something and I'd say, well, why? I'm a kid, 6, 7 years old. Well, why? And the answer that came back most frequently was, because I told you so, because I'm your grandmother, don't backtalk me. Okay, but what she didn't realize when she's doing that is that as I grow up, and if my ideals, the ideals she's passing on to me, are challenged, what do? If she explains it to me, look, this is the way things work. You have ethics, you have knowledge, you have reality, and everything falls into place. This is why this is ethical or unethical to do based on what we know about reality, fundamentally. And explain it to me exactly like I explained it. Property rights, this is our house. Therefore you have to do certain things the way we want them done. And you're a child, and that means you have no rights. You're unemancipated. So we're in charge of you. We are going to make sure you do whatever it is we tell you to do. And when you do that, as I grow up, and if those values are challenged, I know I can refute them. I can refute that challenge, at least in my own mind, and I'm not going to end up becoming the accidental or inadvertent socialist. Because that's what a lot of socialism is about, fundamentally suspending, if not eliminating, ethics and morals, because socialism can't stand up in the face of ethics and morals. But in any case, that brings us to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. And until next time, thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.